When talking about the Argo Mine and Tunnel, it's best to start with a quick look at the beginning of the Colorado Gold Rush. On January 5, 1859, prospector George A. Jackson discovered placer gold at the present site of Idaho Springs, Colorado, where Chicago Creek empties into Clear Creek. It was the first substantial gold discovery in the state. It's important to note that he was a prospector, which is more of an individual searching for minerals than what the Argo mine workers accomplished. During the Colorado Gold Rush, the Clear Creek and Gilpin County mining districts were known as the richest square mile on Earth. The town of Idaho Springs was founded in 1859 and was later incorporated in 1885. The surrounding area became an international center of milling and tunnel innovation. In 1893, the 4.2-mile-long Argo Tunnel began cutting a path through the hills on its way to Central City. Back then, it was known as the Newhouse Tunnel, named after its founder, Samuel Newhouse. He was the man who had the solution for the flooding that was taking place in other mines. Newhouse's tunnel climbed at a 1% grade and took 6 years to reach Central City. The success of the tunnel as an access route meant that a large volume of ore began exiting at the Idaho Springs entrance, and a large mill was built to process it. At the time, it was one of the largest such tunnels and milling operations around the world, directly recovering nearly 100 million in gold. That's 11.2 million ounces. We were told by our very knowledgeable tour guide that many of the gold mines in Colorado would have become inoperable if not for the mighty Argo, and in turn, the Argo mines would not have happened if not for the funding of the British royal family, in particular, Prince George, who later became King George V. It's estimated that 50% or more of the original gold deposits are still intact down the tunnel under Central City. So why isn't it still in operation today? Well, World War II was taking place and the mechanical pumps keeping the tunnels dry were turned off. On January 19, 1943, a massive hydraulic accident took place, causing a fatal, catastrophic flood in the tunnel. Due to World War II happening and the devastating force of the accident, the operation ceased permanently. It would just be too costly to reopen them. Much of the equipment used in the Argo remains in place today, including mining and milling artifacts like the Widowmaker drill. It's so called because it caused miners to breathe in large amounts of dust, causing miners' consumption or silicosis of the lungs. This was a hardening of the lung tissue that led to the early deaths of those who worked at the Argo. On your tour, not only will your guide go much deeper into the history of the mine and the deadly accident that closed it down, but you will see relics like original payroll documents, receipts, and antique photographs. You'll be able to see replicas of the huge stamp mills that were on the property that pounded out deafening sounds all day long. Many children worked at the mill over the years. Their small size and hands let them get to areas where larger men could not reach. They would oil and coat the machines, keeping them working, so no costly shutdown was needed for maintenance. These boys grew up within the mill and moved up the ranks, but unfortunately, they usually died at a very young age because of the dangerous fumes and dust they inhaled in over the years. Back then, it was really hard for the boys and their families to turn down the large paychecks they would make, even if it meant certain early death. A good amount of the mill's original equipment is still in place, transporting visitors instantly back in time to an era steeped in the Victorian Industrial Revolution of the American West. Not to be confused with the Wild West, that had ended by 1913. The Argo was using the most modern technology available from around the globe. In fact, it had electric lighting in the tunnel, while the city of Denver was still using gas lamps. The Argo mill sat abandoned until February 1976, when the property was purchased by a local entrepreneur whose goal was to preserve the Argo and open it for tours. Then, in 2016, a group of local preservationists and visionaries purchased the Argo, and they continue to make impactful improvements. You'll end your tour panning for gold, and if you're lucky, you'll take home a few flakes like we did. Today, the Argo is on the National Register of Historic Places and is a part of a 400 square mile EPA Superfund. The property has been remediated and hosts over 40,000 visitors every year.